It's time for Read the Line Celebrity Insider Interview of the Week. And we have none other than Jason Epstein. He's the Director of Golf and Athletics at Congressional Country Club, host of this week's KPMG Women's PGA Championship. I can't wait to talk to him, so let's jump right into our conversation. I've got him on the line. All right, Jason, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Great, Keith. It's great to be with you.
I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us during such a busy week. How's the KPMG going so far?
Yeah, so far, so good. We're really excited. Right in the middle of the Pro-Am as we speak, and it's great. I mean, the PGA of America, I don't think the golf professionals, the PGA members, most of them have a deep enough appreciation for what the association does and what the tournament team does, the operations team, and we've been building up on this for 2 years. It's really exciting that it's here. And there's so much planning and organization and preparation that goes into it that really right now the team is just kind of executing, and it's kind of fun to see. It's no different than it's just a really, really big member guest. So it's a lot of fun. It's awesome to see the golf course showcase on the world stage.
All right, so let's shift gears to the blue course and the championship venue. When the ladies first see this layout for the first time, what's their first impression going to be?
Yeah. Look, there's a deep appreciation for the venues and being at Congressional and the history. Love just walking down the halls and watching players on their way to registration, just kind of soak in Venturi's silhouette, and to help understand that history are pictures of Rory and Rory's scorecard blown up from 2011. So I think they're so appreciative and excited to be here, and you can feel that. So as far as the golf course goes, they're the best players in the world. They're great athletes, and it's for them, it's a game, and they're going to attack the golf course. I don't think they're going to be intimidated by it. I think they're going to want to shoot great scores. Fairways very generous, lots of options to play into the greens. Andrew Green has done a wonderful job of making this golf course, I think, what's going to be a great challenge for them and to get them thinking and kind of off balance a little bit, but also it really was built for the members of Congressional so they can enjoy it every day, and they do. So I think really exciting. I don't know. I think I expect them to play well. I expect them to do well here. And like I say, just really can't wait to see. Very, very curious, like everybody else is, to see how they play and what the scores are going to be. Some of the early practice rounds have seen some good scores over the past several weeks, so into the mid 60s, which is exciting. It's exciting for golf.
Off balance. What about the golf course is going to put them off balance?
Yeah, I think. Look, we had Rory was out, spent several hours with him just before he was playing over across the street at the Wells Fargo at TPC Potomac, and just going around. First of all, what word he kept using for the design was phenomenal, but he couldn't get his head around how much, to use your words, the course had been transformed, and that's what we use. We use a transformation. It's not really a restoration or a renovation. It truly is a transformation. The entire property, the layout of the land, the landscape, the topography, and everything has been completely transformed, and we've taken it back to kind of that classic feel from the 20s and 30s. So you've got uneven lies, you've got wide approaches to greens, you've got to access hole locations, some of them through the ground, not necessarily through the air. So, I think tour players are used to practicing and hitting off flat lies and hitting it high in the air and having it come down, stop close to the hole. So this introduces so many elements, literally movement and lies above your feet, below your feet, downhill, uphill, a ton. Introduces a lot of that, a lot of movement, very, very intriguing and interesting greens complexes. They're, I think, maybe among the best among the best in the world. I think that'll bear out over the coming years. So you got to start to think a lot, right? You got to start to play different shots. And so that kind of introduces the mind game a little bit more than maybe traditional at a lot of the clubs you see on TV. So, just another element to kind of watch for this coming week as the women tackle the new blue.
Let's imagine you weren't running the event and you were playing in it. As a player, PGA Professional, what part of your game would you work on in order to best be prepared?
I think it's a second shot golf course, and it's a golf course that you've got to know where to miss it. Look, if you knew my game, you'd understand why I say you got to know where to miss it. But yeah, I mean, around the greens, Andrews, if you get out of position, you've got to get back into position. And understanding the greens complexes, I would study the greens complexes and kind of 30, 40 yards out in my line of play. Like that's where my focus would be, understanding where I need to be in relation to the hole location, how I want to approach the green. And if I'm not hitting a great shot, there are, on almost every hole is a spot where you don't want to miss it. And what's crazy is that that spot changes purely depending on where the hole location is. But he also, for the most part, gives you a spot that, hey, if you really want to play this safe or bail out, and it may not be an easy par, but give yourself an easier par opportunity, a spot to miss it. Some really cool risk reward opportunities on the golf course as well. So you got to know, trust your game and take advantage of it. But yeah, I would just spend my time, answer your question, just spend my time around the greens, how I get to the greens, and where I want to come in from and be as I'm hitting my second shot into the greens.
What's with the bunkers? All right, there's like over 125 bunkers on the golf course that these ladies are going to, face this week. And some of them are in these huge clusters, right? I mean, how much will sand play determine the eventual people that contend?
Yeah, I mean, they're fantastic bunker players. And so I think the bunkers are really cool. They help shape the golf course, and kind of letting some of the fescue and rough grow up around them certainly gives that classic feel. One of the things Andrew did that I think is really neat is our original architect was Deborah Emmett. And, the golf course has been changed so many times since then. Actually, we started on a par 6 and ended on a par 6 back when it was designed in the 20s. But one of the things Andrew did is you mentioned the word clusters, and Andrew's kind of tip of the cap to Deborah was Deborah was known for these small bunker clusters. So that's kind of one thing Andrew did intentionally to kind of as an ode to Deborah. And it's great whether you're talking about 2 or 6 or the great hazard that he's kind of put in left of number 16, same thing on 12, which is really neat. It helps shape and gives the hole just even more of a feel of, it has a ton of presence. I mean, the golf course has a ton of presence, and you're standing up on the tee and it's, you can feel it. Like you can feel it in your heart. And it's pretty cool.
It has a major presence, right?
For That's right. Sure. That's right.
So we've had a great up here in the Northeast. We've had a great spring for growing grass. We saw that at the U.S. Open last week at the Country Club. Mid-Atlantic, I'm assuming it's kind of the same. What have the weather conditions been like recently? Is this place going to play firm and fast? And what do you expect for the weather this week?
Yeah, the Mid-Atlantic is awful for weather. I mean, it's either too cold or too hot or too wet. It's notoriously very difficult for the supers in this region to grow grass. Our superintendent, Pete Wint, is a rock star. He's an all-star. He's the best in the business. And so I think he'll always tell you we could have been a little warmer sooner, could be a little cooler coming into the week. But, he's got the golf course fully dialed in. It's exceptional. This week so far, we've had some high winds. So we've really dried the golf course. It's really dried the golf course out and made it firm. We're expecting a little bit of rain, perhaps Wednesday into Thursday, which could soften it up a little bit. But right now, it's all going to depend on Mother Nature. We've got the golf course where we want it. We can control all those variables. We're not expecting heavy rains, so I would expect it to be on the firm side, which is how we like it and how I think it should be played. I think for a golf course that literally turned 1 year old this month this year, so it just turned 1. It is awesome. It's so good. The greens hold shots that it should hold. It releases shots it shouldn't. Your approaches that Andrew intended you to be able to roll it onto the green are releasing onto the green. Lots of movement in the fairway, so your tee ball takes on that movement. It's the grow in and the job that Pete and his team had done after Andrew's finished his work has been nothing short of the best of the best.
Par 72, pushing 6,900 yards, 6,894 is what the PGA of America listed it for the KPMG.
Yes.
How much I mean, the modern game is all about length, but
Yes.
the golf course, how much will length play a role towards playing well, or how much of an advantage will it be this week to the ladies?
Yeah, I think if we get weather and it gets wet, there's going to be a huge advantage for the longer hitters. There's no doubt. But the movement and the fairways and the rollouts do, if it stays firm, are going to help. Kind of that feels like yardage will be a little shorter. So I do think there's an advantage. But when you get around the greens, got to have a lot of feel. Got to know where you are. Got to hit the right shot in. So you got to be able to control your golf ball on your second shots. So I think, I do expect the players that have the best overall rating, if you will, that are able to put it in the right spot off the tee, that are able to control their distances with their irons and hit it to the right part of the green, that are able to hold putts, get up and down when they get into trouble, and to kind of avoid these areas where you're out of position. I think you're going to have, I think, every part of the game to play well here.
You probably get asked this question a lot, but in a sentence or two, what advice do you have for the players? I mean, you're the host professional. People show up all the time, guests, members, and they say, Jason, what do I have to do today to play well?
Oh, I mean, I had a buddy in college who said, if you hit it long and straight, hit a lot of greens and make a lot of putts, you're probably going to play pretty good. So I would just say, keep your ball in the fairway, hit it to the right spot on the green, and make some putts. And, I think, if you're playing like Matt Fitzpatrick and hitting 17 out of 18 greens on Sunday at a major, you're going to score pretty well. That's it. I think green speeds, we've got the green speeds have, and look, going back to your question about the middle Atlantic, it's just interesting because when we lower the height of cut much lower than a 10.5, 11, we really stress the greens, especially from about now through September because of the heat, and we are bent. So Andrew has the greens have a ton of movement. And so because they have a ton of movement, we don't have to stress them out so much by lowering the height of cut so much. So you're going to see greens that are complexes. Like our 14th green is the best. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's got 3 shelves to it. And it's 55 feet long. And, we could keep it at a 10 and you may not be able to keep a ball that you're putting from the top tier to the bottom tier on the green. So it really is taking it back to the 20s and 30s and kind of the architecture there. That's an example, Keith, of turning a weakness into a strength. It's going to be really, really neat to see.
Can't thank you enough for taking the time and spending a couple moments previewing the KPMG Women's PGA Championship with our audience.
Keith, thanks. Hopefully everybody tunes in, and we've got an exciting finish on Sunday.
And that concludes my conversation with Jason. Nothing better than talking to the host of a major championship. Now I'm about to head down there myself, so I'm going to post this up to the newsletter. Hope you all enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy my coverage of the KPMG Women's PGA Championship live from Congressional this weekend.